Good morning, students. Today we would take up the chapter definitely we are on the chapter of French Revolution, but today we would take about the topic France becomes a constitutional monarchy. Now, what we have seen till now that the conditions in France were very unfavorable for the poor people, and a revolution happened, that is a radical change which was started by the people of France, and because of that there were a lot of political changes which happened. The aristocracy lost its privileges, the church and the members of the church lost their privileges and power and influence, and it is the people of France who rose in revolt, and now it was about a whole era of about radical political reforms and changes, and one of them was when France was declared a constitutional monarchy. Now, you all know what monarchy means. It's basically a system of governance where king or the queen happens to be the head. They are the most powerful people on the land, and they are the ones who take decisions about your life and the life of everyone who essentially resides within the kingdom or the territory. Now, but after revolution, France became a constitutional monarchy. Now, constitutional monarchy was something which was a very radical movement and something which was unheard of, because monarchy essentially meant that the king could virtually do whatever he wished, or the queen could virtually do literally do everything that she wished. There was nothing to stop her. There was no institution or the body to stop her wishes. But once and the whole the rule of law, everything flowed from him or her. But after revolution, France was declared a constitutional monarchy, whereby the land would not be now governed by the whims and the fancies and the impulses of the king or the queen, but now it would be determined by the constitution of the land. Now, what essentially is a constitution? If you say in normal parlance, or in normally you would, if you try and understand what constitution is, then it essentially is a rule book. Okay, to simplify it for you, it is a rule book. A rule book which determines how the nation is to be governed. Okay, it is on a national scale. We are not talking about a rule book for a school, okay, or a college, or some small institution. We are talking about a rule book which is supposed to govern every citizen within the land. Everyone comes within its purview. So now, and there would be no whim and fancy of some powerful man within the kingdom, whether it is the king or the queen or the president or the prime minister. No, everything would be from the book, and all the institutions of the government would derive their strength and power and the boundaries to exercise those powers from the constitution itself. Now, France was now a constitutional monarchy. Now, now the power was not concentrated in just one hand. That is, now it was distributed into different power centers. But a constitutional monarchy, students, you have to understand one very important thing. Now, constitutional monarchy does not go independent to the power of the people to vote. You cannot have a system whereby the people do not have the right to vote, but you still declare it as a constitutional monarchy, because a constitution is not just as a rule book. It is a representative of, and it is a reflection of the wills and aspirations of the people. Okay, it is not just about a rule book, a blue-colored book, but it is so much about what people aspire to achieve within a society in a given period of time, the direction which the society wants to take, and the political rights happen to be a very important element of this aspiration, and political rights are incomplete without the power of voting. Today, in India or most of the countries on this planet, voting is considered to be something which is a given right. I mean, the moment you become a citizen of India, you know that one day you would have the power to vote, and not much importance is given. You think, yes, it's something as a matter of fact thing. But then societies have waged an enormous amount of struggle to get this power of voting, because voting was considered to be one of the most exclusive privileges which the people of a land could be endowed with. Endowed with, that would mean granted with, and voting was that one right. Uh, so the rulers of the land, they were very particular about whether they should be whom to give essentially the power of voting. And even when France became independent and widespread reforms were introduced in France, the power of voting was not given to everyone. Okay, because there was this concept of active citizen, and who was this active citizen? That is, only those people, that is, active citizens could only vote. And who were these active citizens? So only those people uh, who would be firstly above 25 years of age, okay, above 25 years of age, and who had the capacity to pay taxes, pay attention, and who had the capacity to pay taxes which was equal to at least 3 days of a laborer's wage, and only they were entitled to vote. And the remaining men and women, they were not considered to be active citizens, they were considered to be passive citizens. Okay, though though apart from this, there were definitely there was enormous amount of change that has happened in France. And as you see in the screen, the declaration of rights of man and citizen. This is something which we would deal with separately, about the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen, because this is a very, very important fundamental fact of life of all the democracies today. And you cannot be considered as a civilized society or a free society or an independent society if your people or your citizens do not have the rights which which are considered to be basic rights, and which every human being is considered to be possessing the moment he takes birth on earth. Okay, now uh, now so France became constitutional monarchy, and it abolished monarchy and became a republic. There was The events in France were going at a wide space. The king, as we had discussed, the king had been guillotined. He was dead. The queen was gone. The aristocracy had lost its powers and privileges. The church had been reduced to just a powerless bunch of old people. So there was a lot of things that was happening at that point in France. Now, when you introduce such radical reforms, students, it is bound to raise the eyebrows of your neighbors. If something so important is happening within your own geography, you should not expect that your neighbors would remain insulated. Now, it was the same thing happened in Europe when there was a revolution. When the revolution was brought to France, the neighbors like Germany, Austria, Italy, all of them got nervous and anxious. That if this thing starts happening, it starts taking root, and then tomorrow it would be our turn to have revolution, because the people in Austria would now start demanding their own set of political rights and privileges. Then the same thing would happen in Germany. The same thing might happen in Italy. Now, this was bound to make the rulers and the kings of the ruling families of those lands very, very nervous. And what they did at that point in time, that was a time when especially Prussia and Austria, they attacked France because they wanted to stem the tide. They wanted to stop all this in their words, nonsense that was happening in France, and they could understand that the fire could engulf their land too. So it was time that they intervened on their own, and they brought an end to, and rather try and bring an end to this confusion in France. For them, it was a confusion because they preferred the status quo, whereby the king is all, the queen is all, and the people are the subjects. They don't have the rights of their own, and they do everything with the permission of the ruling family or the ruling institutions of the state. Yes, so but when Prussia and Austria, now what is Prussia? Students, please do not get, firstly, some of you might think, and I don't blame you, that what is the difference between Prussia and Russia? Because we know that there is something called Russia, and then now you have started hearing about Prussia. So are these things the same things? Is there a difference between the two? What exactly is it? Now, so let me clarify. Prussia happens to be a part of Germany. Okay, it's essentially a northern part of the Germany, and once Prussia used to be known as, or rather, include the territories which were in the northern part of Germany. That is today's also today's Poland to a great extent, and the eastern part of Germany that you know today was all this was part of Prussia. Then one of the major states of Germany today, that is Bavaria, was also part of Russia. And incidentally, students, just to kind of as a piece of information, Bavaria, the state of Bavaria, is the place. Bavaria happens to be the headquarters of one of your favorite automobile brands, which is BMW. Okay. Yes, so the BMW car has its headquarters in Bavaria, and the capital of Bavaria here is Munich. Yes, that's where it is. So coming to the point that this Bavaria was also part of Prussia. So Prussia is different. Russia as a separate country is different. Okay, please never confuse the two. Okay, we shall continue. Thank you.